Welcome to episode 6 of the best Nova Launcher setups. Given that it's episode 6, I've fittingly got 6 amazing setups to showcase to everyone, and as always for each I will have linked in the notes below all of the necessary elements required to get these setups onto your own devices. So today's setups come from Hens, Rico, Nick, and Dia, Alhad, and believe it or not, yours truly. Yes, I have finally got a new setup on my phone, so I will chat about that at the back end of this episode. So first up, we have Hens setup, and this is a single page home screen with some pretty cool creative choices involved. So firstly, that Think Bigger wallpaper comes from the Dark Ops wallpaper application, which would definitely be great for those with AMOLED screens, but what's neat about this one in particular is that it's got this platform with those hanging light bulbs, and so then on top there's this really clean row of 6 application icons, which definitely blend in really nicely with the wallpaper. Those icons, by the way, come from the Halo icon pack. Above that, we have a date and clock widget, which comes from the Alloy Super widget pack. It definitely fits in really nicely with the dark theme this setup has going. And then down below, we have a dock with no app icons, which is a unique choice, but I like the thinking here, and instead we have 2 widgets. On the left is a Google Assistant shortcut, and then on the right is a Google Search shortcut. I'm not actually too sure where Hens got these from, so comment down below if you recognize these. Then we have the app drawer indicator, and that's just about it. I really do like the setups that are built around the wallpaper, and this is a great example of that. It's a clean setup, but with a good amount of functionality, so I'm a fan. Next, we have this really visually appealing one-page setup from Rico. It's a grid size of 8x5, and starting with that wallpaper, Rico has actually direct linked it to me, which will be included below, so that's great. And for some reason, I really do have a soft spot for setups that successfully utilize photos as the backdrop, and this one definitely works with everything else that is going on. Up the top, we have a really slick Google search bar widget, which comes from the Trident for Super widget pack, which I reckon has this look that would really complement the Simpacts icon pack well. Below that, we have a clock, day, and weather widget, which again comes from the Trident pack, and this widget is obviously where the eye is drawn to for this setup. It's nice and big in the middle, and I do like the look of it. Below that, we have 4 application icons: the internet, WhatsApp, Spotify, and the phone application, and these are using the iJuck icon pack, which I really like the look of. And I actually really like the inclusion of the app names there. This is something that I haven't seen on a setup in quite some time, and yet I think it actually looks quite nice here. The dock is hidden for this setup, and we have that arrow app drawer indicated there, but a super clean setup and definitely a cracker. Okay, after that we have Nick's setup, which will definitely cater to those of you who like to have access to a decent amount of apps on your home screen. So starting with that wallpaper, this one comes from within the Simpacts icon pack, and I really like this one. It's ultra minimal and just has this half city, half jungle vector in the middle with a loading please wait message below that, and I definitely rate it. Up the top, we have a time, date, and day widget, which comes from the Minimal UI widget pack. I don't mind that there, particularly given that you've hidden your status bar for this setup, so that gives you quick access to viewing the time. Below the image in the middle, we have a Google Pill weather and search bar widget, which comes from the Premium for Super widget pack, so that's pretty neat. And then below that, we have an interesting layout for a bunch of application icons. So firstly, all his app icons come from the Simpacts icon pack, and in the middle he has a 3x2 set of 6 regular app icons, which is all good. And then on the left and right he has 2 application folders, each containing a bunch of other apps. Obviously, to pull off this look, he has set the folder preview to grid and the background to none, so it gives this really unique look to the home screen whilst not taking up a crazy amount of space. His second page is fairly similar. Up the top we have another weather widget, which comes from the WeatherPal application, and I'm not 100% sure why you're after 2 weather widgets in your setup. Perhaps you want this one to link directly to the WeatherPal app, and if that's the case, I would instead recommend jumping into Super Widget Pro and adjusting the original widget on that first home page so it launches the WeatherPal app instead. Anyway, below that we have a row of 5 app icons followed by a row of 3 app icons. I don't mind this layout here. My guess is that these apps are used maybe just as much as the full-size app icons on the home screen, and maybe a little bit more than the apps within the folders. But either way, I really like this setup, and I wanted to include it particularly for those who need a bunch of apps on their home screens. So next we have Dia's setup, and apologies if I've mispronounced your name there, but this is a cool single page setup. We have a grid size of 11x7, which allows us to get that really cool application icon setup you've got down the bottom with a triangle of 10 app icons that are all color coordinated. And the icons themselves are from the Orbis icon pack, and I really do like this creative setup you've gone with here. It also ties in really nicely with that mirrored wallpaper we have as the backdrop, which comes from the Walls application, but Ndia has also used the Mirror Image app to get the final effect we see here. Up the top, we have a Day of the Week widget, which comes from the Candy for Zupa widget pack, and this is actually an edited widget with the month and date added after the fact. Down the bottom, we have a custom-made widget, which includes the current Wi-Fi network, the time, and the battery percentage. As well as that, tapping on the time triggers the app drawer, and tapping on the battery percentage triggers the Google Calendar app, which means there's lots of functionality involved with this custom widget too. What's cool is that Ndia has sent me this custom widget, and so of course I will have it linked in the notes below. But anyway, this is just a really cool, unique setup that looks very visually appealing whilst also having lots of functionality baked in. Following that is Alhard's setup. Again, apologies on the name butchering, and this is a really ultra clean setup, and I love it because it doesn't take a massive suite of apps to set it up. So the wallpaper and both of the widgets are all taken from the PixUp widget pack, which is definitely worth looking into if you haven't already taken a look at it. But anyway, that wallpaper is clean. It provides a nice colorway with that aqua water and then that gray and white wharf going across the diagonal there, and I am a really big fan. Up the top, we have a simple Google Pill search widget, which looks nice, and then on the bottom there, we have a quick toggles widget. The arrow on the left triggers the app drawer, and then we have shortcuts to access our dialer, messages, camera, the internet, a shortcut to lock the device, and another search shortcut. And yet, even with all of that access to those many apps, it still looks mighty clean. In the middle, we have 4 folders filled with different apps, all of which are rocking the Syntax icon pack, which I dig. Anyway, this is a really nice looking setup, and if you're looking to get involved without the setup being overly complicated, this setup would be a great place to start. And finally today, I'm showcasing my own new Nova Launcher setup that I'm currently rocking on my OnePlus 3T. I had my previous setup on my phone for quite some time, about 6 months actually, which in my world is a significant amount of time, but I was finally tiring of it, so I've changed it to what you're seeing on screen right now. Now, I can't claim full creative ownership of this setup. I was actually heavily inspired by the great Ash Taylor for this one. If you don't know who he is, I will link his channel down below, so definitely go and check out that channel. It is amazing. So that wallpaper is from the Wallrocks application under the Lines category, and it's called Lines 17. Up the top, we have a Google search bar widget from the Flat Material Zupa widget pack, and aside from it obviously triggering a Google search page, I've also set it up so that tapping on that Google Assistant icon up the top opens up the Google Weather app. That was one of the biggest things I missed from the more pixel style setup I used to have. It was actually a little tricky to properly set it up because it's not a dedicated weather app in and of itself, but it did so using Tasker. And if you want to know how to do it yourself, I'll place an article that helped me in the notes below. So then below that widget is a gap, which just makes things look clean and tidy. And at the bottom, we have a 2-page dock. The first page has 4 app icons, which come from the Minimal icon pack, and then an app drawer icon in the middle, which comes from the Glim icon pack. Swiping the dock across, and you get a second page of apps, again, all using the Minimal icon pack. I do also have a second home page, which is a more condensed calendar widget than what I previously used, but again, this is using the month calendar widget application. That's pretty much it, although I did want to show you my app drawer, which is a 4x5 grid size, and right up the top we have those 4 folders I've used in most of my recent setups, each with the apps I use most regularly, which I will be showcasing in a new episode of What's on My Android coming hopefully very soon, so stay tuned for that. But those folders are using icons found in the Minimal icon pack, and then the rest of the application icons are using the Syntax icon pack. But aside from that, that's it for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode, and let me know which of the setups is your favorite down in the comment section below. As always, I'll place a link to the original submission video in the notes below, and please definitely keep your setups coming. I do check every single submission, so check out that video if you want to know how to enter. Guys, that's it from me. Thank you to all who hit that like button, and even more so to those who subscribe to the channel. It genuinely gives me the good vibes. But anyway, thank you for watching, and I will catch you later.